Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. Today on the Daily Review, we discuss two early 90s Brad Pitt movies that I just recently found out are not the same movie. It's A River Runs Through It and Legends of the Fall with your host, me, Professor Joe LaRocca. Directed by Robert Redford and Edward Zwick, respectively. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'd seen Legends of the Fall at some point when I was a kid. I remember my cousin Alexis really liked it because Brad Pitt is a super hot boy, and he was in the prime hotness of the early 90s when he was crushing it. And then I remember seeing like bits and pieces of A River Runs Through It and never really piecing them together as separate stories. So they both take place at roughly the same time period in Montana, and they're about fathers and brothers, basically. So I'll start with A River Runs Through It, which is like a Norman Rockwell painting of a movie, you know, kind of like Shawshank, but nothing really happens. And it stars Brad Pitt, Craig Schaefer, and old Scariff there. And it's like beautifully shot, and it's very cozy. And the father's a preacher, and the two sons grow up best friends and stuff. And then one kind of goes in the opposite direction of the father, and the other one stays at home. The biggest thing is that as kids, they grow. One's Joseph Gordon-Levitt in his first on-screen role. They grow up to be the wrong kids, in my opinion. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt looks more like a young Brad Pitt, and the other kid looks like a young Craig. And so I thought it was so weird when they grow up. I'm like, oh, it's the other way around. Weird. There's a couple like storylines that don't really fully piece themselves together. No scene really gets there, if you know what I mean. Like, it builds up, and then there's no scene where you're like, oh, I would show that in a film class. Maybe the climactic fishing scene, but even that kind of needs the whole movie for it to make sense. And the whole time I just kept feeling like, well, these are really good performances, or they're good performances, not really good performances. They're good performances, but like, why does this story need to be told was all I kept thinking. Is like the conflict isn't they're well developed, but they're not particularly like interesting. They're like too realistic. They're like not noteworthy, because it just becomes, it's about, romance and debt and drinking and sibling and parent conflicts and stuff, but nothing really kind of comes to a head. It's just loving and heartfelt and boring. And there's like voiceover beginning and the end and throughout. And it ultimately is understated and well directed, but I didn't like it. I just thought it was boring. And I love, and this is interesting because I always go on these rants about how I hate movies where they feel like they need to have crazy shit happening every 10 seconds. This almost goes a little bit too far in the other direction, in that the most interesting scenes are about fly fishing, which is not particularly cinematic, although the way they shoot it is quite beautiful. And then the metaphors that are attached to that are nice, but something about it, man. There's something about it that just made me go, I don't care about this family. All right, then we move on to Legends of the Fall by Edward Zwick. And this is like the dramatized version of it. Sir Anthony Hopkins is the same thing, kind of hard father, but military background instead of a ministry, but knows all the terrors of war, and so now he lives on his ranch in Montana with his three boys, and the wife is kind of estranged. They don't love each other. Well, they love each other, but they don't like spend time together. They're like buddies, I think. And his three brothers. And they're all badass at hunting and fishing and doing all that crazy stuff. And then guess what happens? Old Dubs 1? I guess it must be World War I. And so they go off and fight, all three brothers. Brad Pitt is reluctant, but goes because he's going to take care of his younger brother, because his younger brother recently brought home a fiancée who, when she steps off the train, everybody's just like, damn. They're like, we ain't never seen no pretty lady before. And so that becomes a storyline where they all are basically just in love with her, and they go off to war, and obviously the little baby brother dies, and then it comes back, and the two brothers are sort of fighting over the lady. But the lady has agency. It's good. It's well written. It's not like she could leave. You know what I mean? She has the I don't know. I think that those interpersonal relationships are a little bit deeper, and the inner conflict is of being the guilt that Brad Pitt feels, I think, is a stronger emotion than anything in A River Runs Through It. But then again, this gets to the point where it's so dramatic that maybe it's like a romance novel, like a little saccharine, you know? So one's like a little underspiced and one's a little bit overspiced, you know? But they're essentially the same movie. Brad Pitt's performance, he's probably... I don't know. It's interesting. It's hard to say which one. I think on the surface, Legends of the Fall seems like a better performance because he's got a lot more. He's got like crying scenes, and his character is visibly more destroyed and struggling. It's more obvious, but they're just kind of blending together in my mind right now as I talk about it. I already kind of forget what the differences are. I can switch the poster so you can see the book Legends of the Fall. Which also has Aidan Quinn in it. I don't know. I think overall, what I would do. This is what I would do. I want it. A River Runs Through It, but add a war to A River Runs Through It. But keep the same plot and switch out Scarif for Hopkins. That's what I would do. And take out Craig Schaefer from Nightbreed and put Aidan Quinn in that role. So wait. Now I just made it Legends of the Fall. What the fuck? It's just about boring white people doing white shit. I guess you could say that about 89% of all movies ever made. But all right, let's see. To grade these, let's go back. A River Runs Through It. I give it a B. It's certainly well made, and I respect it, but it's kind of boring. Why we get no B? We gonna see a B now? B on screen? B on screen? Okay, I guess not. And then, so I gave that a B. Whatever, we're getting rid of grades soon. There it is. And then Legends of the Fall, I will also give it a B. Two B's in a pod. Okay, you guys can like and subscribe if you like to subscribe. Like I said, it really helps. The likes and the subscribes really helps. Not like monetarily, I don't care about that, but me personally, emotionally. Anyway, what did I learn? What I learned is that when it comes to it, you have no shot against Brad Pitt. Just when it comes to you and every other human being alive, you will lose to Brad Pitt. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Take it easy. Look at that. 2 movies in under 9 minutes. The kid's a pro.